on running back to you. In spite of all the shit you do, I keep on running back, running back, running back to you. My heart's bleeding, I can't go on without you by my side, by my side.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Happy July 1st. How's everybody's morning going? Cheers. Cheers. Good morning, Ma. How are you doing this morning, dear? I hope you're having an amazing Monday, July 1st. What is up, Jimmy? How are you doing this morning, man? I hope you're having an amazing Monday morning. Brother Coffee, how are you? I hope you're having an amazing Monday morning, man. Don't work too hard today. What is up, Ashley? I know, it's crazy. Where the frick did the summer go? Happy July. What is up, Amber? How are you doing this morning? I hope you're having an amazing Monday morning. Good morning, Henny. How are you doing, dear? I hope you are having an amazing Monday morning. Good morning, Megan. How are you? I hope you're having a good Monday morning. Gearing up for the gym. It's Canada Day. Hey, happy Canada Day. All right. Our morning sunrise. And cheers, everybody.
Staring out
Good morning, CJ.
Is she loving him in her mind while she's lying here in my bed? There's a stranger in my house. Somebody here that I can't see. A stranger in my house. Somebody here trying to take her away from me. Suspicions lead to questions, and questions to alibis. Is it just my imagination, or has her love turned into lies? There's a stranger in my house. Somebody here that I can't see. A stranger in my house. Somebody here trying to take her away. A stranger in my house. Somebody here that I can't see. A stranger in my house. Somebody here trying to take her away. A stranger in my house. Somebody here trying to take her away from me. Stranger in my
Good Monday morning, everybody. Good morning, CJ. How are you doing this morning, dear? I hope you're having an amazing, amazing Monday, July 1st morning. So it will be a fairly short show this morning. I have to go up and talk to the city offices, with it being the first of the month, and figure out my bills for July and end of June. But we'll still do a morning speaker, and we will do this day in history as always. So, anybody got any cool big plans for today? Any big July plans? Anybody going anywhere for the 4th? Go. I will be here at the Cove. I think we'll do a 4th of July show. I'm not sure what that will entail, but it'll be a good time. We'll do some fireworks and some music and some herb and all of the good shit for 4th of July. I think, anyway. All right, I'm going to run a quick commercial break and then be back for 420. Stick around, everybody. We got this day in history coming up, and get ready for getting stoned words. Be right back, everybody.
Get ready for the ultimate raffle where everyone's a winner. For just $20, you can grab a Yerp box filled with $20 or more worth of cool cannabis accessories. Whether you're looking to expand your collection or find some new favorite goodies, these Yerp boxes are packed with surprises that any cannabis enthusiast will love. Each Yerp box offers a unique experience, making the unboxing just as exciting as the treasures inside. These boxes are designed to bring joy and value, ensuring that every participant walks away satisfied. These Yerp boxes come in sets of 10 or 20, adding an extra layer of excitement. Within each set, there is one lucky box with extra special goodies and one grand prize box filled with the absolute best cannabis accessories. The thrill of possibly receiving the lucky box or the coveted grand prize box adds to the fun and anticipation. This makes every Yerp box purchase an adventure, as you never know which incredible surprises await you. Don't miss out on this exciting opportunity to score big with Yerp boxes. It's a deal you can't lose. Every box guarantees value, fun, and a little bit of mystery. The excitement of unboxing combined with the assurance of receiving quality items makes Yerp boxes a must-have for any cannabis enthusiast. Grab yours today and see if you're the lucky winner of the grand prize box. Let the unboxing adventure begin and join a community of happy and excited participants.
Waxy Brown's Review: Championing Cannabis Rights and Innovation. Waxy Brown's Review is a dynamic platform spearheaded by Waxy, a dedicated cannabis rights advocate who has experienced legal hurdles firsthand due to his activism. The platform is renowned for its distinctive blend of advocacy, culture, and innovative cannabis products. One of the standout features of Waxy Brown's Review is The Gortash, a feature-length film that explores the legend of a mythical monster in Missouri. This creature is portrayed as an antagonist in the local hemp and cannabis sectors, providing a unique narrative twist that highlights the challenges within the industry. Waxy Brown's Review maintains a robust presence on social media, particularly through their Facebook page. This platform serves as a vibrant interactive hub where followers can stay engaged with the latest updates and dive deeper into the cannabis advocacy world. The Review is also known for its diverse range of cannabis-related products. By leveraging an extensive network, Waxy Brown's Review introduces innovative solutions tailored to the needs of the cannabis community. Among their products is Wax Off, a highly effective cannabis cleaning solution. This cleaner is adept at removing stubborn residues from various surfaces without the use of harsh salts or detergents, making it a must-have for cannabis enthusiasts. Another groundbreaking product is Reveille, the first of its kind, reverse edible. Designed to counteract the effects of THC overconsumption, Reveille is formulated with natural ingredients including terpenes, CBD, and other botanicals, offering consumers a safe method to mitigate unwanted highs. Through a combination of cultural contributions, advocacy, and product innovation, Waxy Brown's Review stands out as a beacon in the cannabis rights movement, continually pushing the boundaries of what is possible in the cannabis industry.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Monday morning. Yeah, I hear that, Ash. I get that. Yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out and working around here and just the usual stuff. Nothing too crazy, I don't think. All right. I got Henny Gidding, thank you. Moss Stoned, thank you. Ashley again. Got Amber with and CJ Mai, thank you, Ma. Thank you, Ashley. Megan, Jimmy, you guys still rocking with us? I can give you a Getting Stoned word. I'm just not sure who's hanging. What up, Vicky? Good morning, Vicky. How are you doing this morning, dear? Hope you're having an amazing Monday morning. Good morning, Kay. How are you doing this morning, dear? I hope you're having an amazing morning. It's July 1st. Okay, Vicky, do you want to do only? And Kay, do you want to do friends? And then Amber with and CJ my. And then we should be good to go. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, CJ. Okay. Thank you, Vicky. Friends, Kay. Good morning, Jenny. How are you doing this morning, dear? I hope you're having an amazing, amazing day. I got the sweet Florida Gators Aunt Zen's Ditty bag in my ear box. Thank you very much for that. That was amazing. Thank you, Kay. Good morning, Nicole. How are you? I hope you're having an amazing, amazing Monday morning. Happy July 1st. We got 1 minute. Make sure you guys got a bowl loaded or something. Hold on. Just wait. Mondays are Mondays. All right. Cheers, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Monday.
Smoke weed every day.
Lumberjack. morning. Cheers, everybody. What is up, Lumberjack? How's your morning going, man? I hope you're having an amazing Monday morning. Hopefully you're not working too hard. All right. This day in history for July 1st.
Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for July 1st. July 1st is the 182nd day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 183rd in leap years, with 183 days remaining to the end of the year. If you'll remember, yesterday we looked at euphemism, which got me to thinking about words that begin with the prefix EU, and I thought we'd look into some more words like that. Merriam-Webster says that there are about 12 common words that begin with the letters EU and well over 600 other words that begin with the letters EU. Holy cow. So we'll look at a few of them a day at a time and see how we feel and then decide how long we want to continue in that vein. And remember, if you have a word that you'd like me to talk about, drop it in the comments and we'll take a look at it. Certainly get it in the lineup. Today's word, though, is eunoia. Eunoia is a noun, and the simple definition of it is a feeling of goodwill, of being friendly, of wanting to help. This good feeling, especially between a speaker and an audience. I don't remember all words having a spot in Wikipedia, but eunoia does, where it is described as well-mind, beautiful thinking, and again, as the goodwill that a speaker cultivates between themselves and their audience. Eunoia may also be used to name the benevolent feelings of goodwill that a spouse has, which forms the basis for ethical foundation of human life. That definition sounds a little complicated, though, but I think you get the gist of it. Wikipedia says that eunoia is also a rarely used medical term that refers to the state of normal mental health. And here's a little something extra about eunoia. It is the shortest English word containing all 5 main vowels.
Damn.
A, E, I, O, and U. Eunoia comes to us from Greek with the prefix EU, meaning good, well, or beautiful, and noia from a Greek word that means mind, spirit, or thought. I was not able to find a first known use date for the word eunoia, but there you have it, eunoia. And again, if you have a word you'd like me to explore in the Word of the Day section, pop it into the comments. We'll take a look at it. And with that, we're going to start in the year 1520 when Spanish conquistadors led by Hernan Cortez fought their way out of Tenochtitlan after nightfall. That's a mouthful of word, isn't it? This is the birthday of American politician and educator Thomas Green Clemson, born July 1st, 1807. He founded Clemson University. He lived to the age of 80. A system of civil registration of births, marriages, and deaths was established in England and Wales on July 1st, 1837. That seems rather recent, but I think before that, those records were kept in churches, so now they will have been civil records. The Battle of Gettysburg began on July 1st, 1863. The United States Department of Justice formally came into existence on July 1st, 1870. The first commercially successful typewriter, the Scholes and Glidden, went on sale July 1st, 1874. The Universal Postal Union, or UPU, was established by the Treaty of Berne in 1874. It is a specialized agency of the United Nations that coordinates postal policies among member nations, as well as the worldwide postal system. Before the UPU was established, every pair of countries that exchanged mail had to negotiate a postal treaty with each other. That sort of situation, things could get pretty elaborate. trying to send mail back and forth if your country didn't happen to have a treaty with the country you were trying to send to. The UPU was established in 1874, and on July 1st, 1878, Canada joined the Universal Postal Union. July 1st, 1903 marks the start of the first Tour de France bicycle race. SOS was adopted as the International Distress Signal on July 1st, 1908. United Airlines began service as Boeing Air Transport on July 1st, 1931. Also on July 1st, 1931, Wiley Post and Harold Gatty became the first people to circumnavigate the globe in a single-engine monoplane aircraft. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Australia's national broadcaster, was formed on July 1st, 1932. This is the birthday of Diana, Princess of Wales, born July 1st, 1961. There's a lot more that I could say, but we'll just wrap it up by saying she lived to the age of 36. Sony introduced the Walkman on July 1st, 1979. If you don't happen to be old enough to remember what that was, it was a portable tape cassette player that allowed people to listen to music of their choice on the go. The popularity of this device made the term Walkman an unofficial term for personal stereos of any producer or brand, kind of like the original iPod, the iPod of its day. Oh, Canada officially became the national anthem of Canada on July 1st, 1980. The movie rating of PG-13 was introduced by the MPAA on July 1st, 1984. Today's song is Windy by The Association, number 1 on July 1st, 1967. Windy was written by American folk singer and songwriter Ruth Ann Friedman and recorded by The Association of May in 1967. This song was originally written in waltz tempo, and it was originally about a man. The Association's producer at the time changed it to 4/4 time to give it a more commercial appeal, and the Association changed the lyrics so that the song could be about a woman. A delightful song, great harmonies. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on July 1st, 1967, and held that spot for 4 weeks. Windy by The Association, July 1st. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page.
Yes, please give Vicky Bowers a like, a subscribe. She is fucking awesome. And it wasn't a horse word today. Oh, green. That's fucking awesome. PG-13. Hey, it works. All right, let's do a song, and then we'll do our morning speaker. We'll go with I hear that. So loud.
Can you see me breathing? Standing here without you, and I can see it's midnight. I cannot live without you. Too close to my see you hiding in the darkness, colder when it's twilight. I've been feeling restless. Too far, I'm bleeding. Too far gone, I see it. Too far gone, I'm screaming. I'm screaming.
What's up, Kay? Honey.
Too far, bleeding. Too far gone, see it. Too far gone, I'm screaming. I'm screaming.
Much love, Kay. I hope you have an amazing day. And please let us know if you need anything. Here we go. Dr. K this morning.
So how do you know if you have an addiction, or what is an addiction? So when I am addicted to something like alcohol or opiates, the physiologic effects on my body are profound. Our GABA receptors get regulated so heavily that if you're addicted to alcohol and you stop cold turkey, the withdrawal that you go through can conceivably be fatal. As someone who's done a lot of work in addictions, like, the main thing that I found is that you can go to AA, you can start this medication, you can go to rehab. That'll all help. But the truth is, it doesn't work for everyone, right? So what's the difference? Sometimes you'll have people who have a history of trauma who really just want to be loved. And when it comes to addictions, it's like, it's really easy to find someone who you can feel love for if both of y'all are addicted to the same substance. So I've managed to abstain from porn and masturbation, but my productivity has lowered significantly. And I am impulsive buying. My impulsive buying came back in full force. Last time I posted, I was doing so well. I exercised steadily, not half-assed. Even though I hate exercise, I still managed to do it. Good job. I did my chores, did my studies, managed to control my impulsive buying to a medium yet manageable level. However, my porn and masturbation addiction was the one I was stumped. Before I did another attempt, I watched the Huberman podcast with Anne Lumbeck. The man likes to inform the general public about neuroscience and ways to use it to our advantage. He's quite similar to Dr. K, but highly specialized on neuroscience. Bro got a degree and more on the science stuff. Thankfully, I'm a first-year nursing student, so I can keep up with the anatomical parts and such. Not going to lie, some of it are way too advanced for me. I finished the podcast and gained some insight and learned some tips now to put them to practice. I felt huge fluctuations in my mood. It made me wonder if this is how women felt during menstruation on the first day. Interesting side benefit of empathy, maybe. Food cravings made me spend more than I should. Exercise has been great difficulty to initiate and finish. I started living like a slob again. Luckily, I managed to finish most of my assignments before starting detox, so my school load is very light and the deadline is still very far. The fact that I felt definitive withdrawals within 2 or 3 days pretty much confirms that I really had a legitimate addiction, and those years of porn use and masturbation has really altered my brain's dopamine homeostasis. So the help and advice that I need now, how do I recover from such a difficult process of detoxification whilst juggling my exercise, chores, schoolwork, managing finance, and keeping my head in the game? It is legitimately difficult, and I started to understand how some people have great difficulty recovering from addiction. Once again, empathy +1. I know the road to recovery is constant and lifelong, and I want to gain some insights and tips to keep myself from becoming worse. So, this is the kind of thing where I think this is a really good representation of what the road to recovery looks like. And there are a lot of important principles here that I'm going to sort of share with you, having worked with people who have addictions and stuff, about kind of how the mind works, what the role of an addiction is, and what it feels like to try to get off of it, or what are the challenges that it takes to get off of something. So let's start by sort of defining addiction, okay? So how do you know if you have an addiction, or what is an addiction? So as human beings, we have a mind, and the mind juggles lots of different things. The mind experiences positive things, it experiences negative things. And generally speaking, when we try to get motivated to do something, the more negative stuff our mind is dealing with, the harder it is to do, right? So let's say that I'm trying to study for an algebra exam, and, my girlfriend just broke up with me the day before. So as a result of those negative emotions, my mind is going to be creating all these thoughts. There's going to be some concerns, maybe anxiety, maybe fear for the future, maybe guilt. All kinds of different stuff is going to be going on in my mind, and I'm unable to study. So in order to focus our mind, what we tend to do is use something called a coping mechanism. So a coping mechanism is a way that we take some kind of distraction, negative emotion, negative thought, something that gets in the way of us doing what we want to do, and we use some kind of tool to make that thing calm down. So in the worst case scenarios, people will use things like substances, right? So like marijuana or alcohol or whatever. Sometimes we'll use things like video games. Sometimes we'll use things like pornography. So we've sort of figured out, as the human race, what are the things that are effective at quieting our mind when our mind is unquiet. And once our mind starts to quiet down, we can start to be more productive. So we've sort of figured out, almost in like an individual evolutionary sense, what works for us. And that's oftentimes a pattern you'll see with addicts, which is that they'll have something called a drug of choice. Why do some people have one drug of choice and other people have another drug of choice? Oftentimes when you're dealing with people who have substance use problems, they've tried a lot of stuff, right? But there's a particular thing that's their drug of choice. And that even has been shown to track back to, what kind of neuroscience effect a particular substance has. So, some is one of my mentors once put it, doesn't actually work like this, but a particular drug in one person, due to genetic variation and all these kinds of other things, will light their brain up like a Christmas tree. And for another person, the drug will be different. That's why we have a drug of choice. So kind of going back, we each sort of figure out, okay, when I have negative emotions and I need to focus, here's what I'm going to use to make myself feel better. And the array of coping mechanisms is like vast, right? So we have everything from video games and substances to pornography to also things like meditation and exercise and, eating comfort food, right? So what is an addiction? So I tend to think about addictions as things that are adaptive and then become maladaptive. So over time, your coping mechanism, which used to help, may still work for that one thing, but the cost of employing that coping mechanism becomes greater than the benefit. So like eating comfort food is great. Like that can be like good. It's nourishing. It feels good, whatever. Or maybe it's not nourishing depending on your comfort food. But then when we start to like cross the realm of like comfort food into like binge eating or, like food addiction or things like that, that's when it's kind of gone too far. This is where it's starting to affect our health. Sure, it still provides us with some kind of emotional benefit, but like it's causing problems in other parts of life. So if we look at someone who's got an addiction, usually there are like two things going on. So we're going to talk about different kinds of addiction for a second. So for a long time, there's been a debate whether marijuana is addictive. And part of that debate has to do with the principle of physiologic tolerance and withdrawal. So when I am addicted to something like alcohol or opiates, the physiologic effects on my body are profound. So alcohol works on something called the GABA receptor. Opioids tend to work on different kinds of opioid receptors, but the mu receptor is really, really important. And so we know from studies of neurobiology that when you regularly use a substance, our receptors will adapt to sort of develop a tolerance. So caffeine's another good example where we'll develop a physiologic tolerance. So when we start to use caffeine, it can keep us up all night. But if we use it on a regular basis, then it doesn't keep us up all night. In fact, without it, we start to suffer, right? So we experience some kind of physiologic withdrawal. So there are some substances like marijuana, for example, or even things like pornography or video games that don't appear to develop the same kind of physiologic tolerance and withdrawal that things like alcohol and opiates develop. So how do we sort of know this, or what's the argument for this? So the first is that, for example, our GABA receptors get regulated so heavily that if you're addicted to alcohol and you stop cold turkey, the withdrawal that you go through can conceivably be fatal, or not conceivably, it really can be fatal and is fatal for an unfortunate percentage of people. So what happens is literally when you go through alcohol withdrawal, depending on what kind of tolerance you have, how much you've been drinking, and genetics and other individual factors. So alcohol kind of slows down neuronal activity. So in the absence of alcohol, if you've kind of like, really, really like accounted for the depressing effect of alcohol, maybe this is the kind of thing where I should draw this out. So let's do this. So we'll explain physiologic tolerance real quick, okay? So let's take a look. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to explain this real quick. Okay. Then we're going to go back to the main part. So let's talk about physiologic withdrawal. So let's say I use something called alcohol. Okay. So here's the signal. Okay. And then here's my response. Now, if I use alcohol, which is a depressant, so the GABA receptor is a hyperpolarizing receptor. So it's usually a chloride ion channel is the simplest way to think about it, makes it harder for your neurons to turn on, basically. So when I add alcohol, what happens is that alcohol essentially, sorry, hold on. GG. Okay. So what alcohol essentially does is it lowers the effect of the signal. Okay, so alcohol artificially puts us here. So then our brain is like, oh, we're supposed to be in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adapt. I'm going to change the nature of my neurons. I'm going to make them more sensitive because alcohol has a depressing effect. So my physiologic adaptation is going to be in this direction. We can also look at something like caffeine, where this is my normal function. Here's my response. And so what does caffeine do? Caffeine amps it up, right? So this is caffeine. And so then over time, our brain is like, hold on a second. This is like, we're too amped up. Let's go ahead and adapt and let's lower our responsiveness. So then what happens is once you add the blue and green arrows together, what you end up with is you end up in the middle, which is why if you look at issues of withdrawal, like without caffeine, the reason that it sucks is like you operate down here, right? So you're like, you feel sluggish, you feel slow. And so what happens in physiologic alcohol withdrawal is you actually operate up here. And what does this mean practically? What does it mean to like operate up here? So what it means to operate up here is you can actually have seizures. So your neurons are so excitable, they depolarize so quickly that you can get unregulated electrical like activity in the brain, and you can actually have a seizure. And then remember, neurons and neuronal functions and depolarizing cells are not just in your brain. So you can also get problematic electrical activity within the heart, and you can get a cardiac arrhythmia that results in death. So this is why, like, when people say like marijuana is not addictive, what they're referring to is that this physiologic process does not seem to exist with marijuana, or it happens at a much, much smaller level. Okay. So this is what we mean by marijuana is not addictive. But these things like video games, like pornography doesn't do this to your, doesn't act like this. So in the case of opiates, for example, we'll get opioid receptors all over the body. So what you'll see is you'll get things like, so opioids are constipating. They will provide pain relief. Those are two of the biggest things. They'll also kind of slow your mind down. So when people are going through opioid withdrawal, they experience the opposite of those things. They'll have diarrhea. Sometimes they'll feel nauseous or even vomit. They'll get sweaty. They'll start to feel like very agitated and restless. Their pain can actually their pain receptors can become more sensitized. So opioid withdrawal is like a very, very unpleasant experience, which according to some people that I've worked with is like worse than death. The hands down, the worst experience of their life is like the week or two that they go through opioid withdrawal. So this is what we sort of mean by like, some substances are not addictive. You don't develop a physiologic tolerance. But we clearly develop dependencies on these other things like pornography addiction, video game addiction, things like that. So then the question is, okay, like what is that kind of dependency? And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where we use coping mechanisms to help deal with negative emotions, right? So oftentimes what you end up seeing is if I'm using pornography to deal with negative emotions, so that I can function and focus and be productive and exercise and stuff like that, right? Because I have all these kinds of like negative stuff going on. I'm unmotivated. I'm ashamed of myself, whatever. And so if I use pornography, it kind of like deadens my mind a little bit, gets some dopamine spurts, changes my thinking, and then like it kind of equilibrates me. So
Good morning, Mr. Waxy Brown, sir. How are you doing? I hope you're having an amazing Monday morning. Happy July 1st. We're just hanging out, getting high, doing our morning speaker, Dr. K this morning, talking about addictions.
what we tend to see is that those underlying psychological things that you need the coping mechanism to cover, okay, those don't go away when you stop using an addictive substance. So forget about the physiology for a second. We're talking about kind of the emotional coping or the emotional dependence, for lack of a better term, maybe more than emotional, identity related, thought related, etc. Mental, let's call it mental. So oftentimes what you see is that when you take an addiction away from someone, or you don't let someone use an addiction, you see an upswing of those negative mental states, which in turn means that people will reach towards other behaviors. So oftentimes when you work in addictions, what you find is it feels like you're playing whack-a-mole, where the second that you control someone's opioid use, they'll start doing things like self-injurious behavior. So cutting or something like that. So self-injurious behavior is also actually a coping mechanism. It's really fascinating when I talk to people who engage in self-harm, they're not actually trying to kill themselves. There's something about, self-harm can be incredibly focusing for the mind. And so remember that like our brains will figure out like what works for us. And sometimes people who are, have such a negative emotional state that they need something like a sensation of physical pain to obliterate all of their thoughts. So the third kind of thing, the bucket here that tends to pop up as well, is sometimes people also develop like issues with eating disorders. So the kind of the worst case scenarios are, I mean, if you're in this situation, you're not hopeless or anything, but as a clinician, what can be challenging to deal with until you understand this is someone who's got like 2 or 3 unhealthy coping mechanisms. And the moment you fix one, those negative emotions that were suppressed by the addiction come roaring back. And as those emotions come roaring back, we start to engage in other things. And that's what we see in this situation, right? So the person stopped watching pornography or dealt with their porn addiction, and their impulsive buying behaviors increased. So for any given person, it may be like, some combination of all of the above, right? So some people engage in self-injurious behavior. Some people engage in video games. Some people engage in pornography. Some people engage in impulsive buying. Some people engage in even like emotionally manipulative tactics to feel loved. So this is like a common thing that, people don't really think about, which is when I feel bad, in order to get a sense of emotional comfort, sometimes what I'll do is like lean on someone else to provide that for me. And sometimes that can be frustrating for the other person, or I don't know how to ask for it. I'm not really aware of it. So I'll engage in like emotionally like manipulative behavior to evoke a response from someone else. So the key point here is that those underlying emotions that you're using to cope, you can get rid of the coping mechanism. And when you get rid of the coping mechanism, you may recalibrate your neurons after a period of withdrawal, right? So this is what neuroscience will sort of tell us. So like, we talk about this when we talk about neuroscience. A lot of neuroscientists will sort of talk about this stuff, right? In terms of like your receptors and stuff like that. But clinicians will also appreciate like that there's kind of a personal, individual, psychological component to this. And that component is what causes the whack-a-mole sort of thing to pop up, right? Because now like you used to deal with this with pornography, and now the porn isn't there anymore. So like, how are you going to deal with it? We're going to start buying more. Now, the other thing that we tend to see, which is also very common, is this person is saying, as I've quit pornography, it's harder for me to exercise, harder for me to study, harder for me to focus. I don't feel motivated. Why is that? Well, we sort of explain that, right? Because the reason that you use pornography is to get your mental state calmed down so that you can focus your mind. So as you remove that Band-Aid, as you remove that coping mechanism, expect all of this stuff to happen. So expect, first of all, that you may start leaning on other unhealthy coping mechanisms. You may start to experience more mental discomfort. The good news with both of these things is that this is like, there's good strategies that you can use for this. So the first is, this is why we teach healthy coping mechanisms, right? This is why mindfulness is so big, meditation is so big, because if we want to bring that mental stress down and we don't want to use pornography, if we just take away the pornography, that stress will come back. So that's where we can use something like meditation to lower that stress over time. That too has like a couple of different angles to it, right? One is like development of empathy, development of compassion. That's all like more mental stuff. And there's also physiologic or neuroscientific stuff, right? So we'll see that we'll disengage things like the default mode network. We'll lower our cortisol or CRH production, which is corticotropic releasing hormone. Will sort of affect things physiologically, and will sort of affect things kind of like more globally on a mental or psychological level. So that's why developing healthy coping mechanisms is really, really important, and a big important piece of sort of coming off of a dependence. Now, you don't have to develop a healthy coping mechanism. It just makes it a lot easier, okay? The second thing to understand is that at the end of the day,
Good morning, Dusty. How are you? I hope you're having an amazing Monday morning. Happy July 1st. We're just doing our morning speaker talking about addiction.
why are addictions so difficult to get rid of? And it's because of that internal emotional stuff, right? So like, as someone who's done a lot of work in addictions, like the main thing that I found is that you can go to AA, You can start this medication. You can go to rehab. That'll all help, right? So those are all evidence-based interventions, or not evidence-based, but evidence-supported or evidence scientifically validated interventions. That's the right term. That work. But the truth is it doesn't work for everyone, right? So what's the difference? What's the difference between someone who goes to rehab for 30 days, comes out sober, stays sober for a year, and someone who goes to rehab for 30 days and like relapses, like within 3 days of coming out? And some of that is luck. Some of it is just the roll of the dice. But some of it is actually a big part of it is the internal work, right? So what is that emotional stuff that comes up? We talk about coping to kind of bring it down. But where are these feelings originating from? And you can do that core work, right? So is it feelings of shame? Is it feelings of I've fallen behind, I've screwed up my life, I'm so behind, this person is better than me? Is it insecurity? Is it a seeking love, right? So this is all kinds of things that happen in addiction. So a good example is sometimes you'll have people who have a history of trauma who really just want to be loved. And when it comes to addictions, it's like it's really easy to find someone who you can feel love for if both of y'all are addicted to the same substance, right? Like, because then y'all are together. You're in it through thick and thin. You're together. You're together. You're together. You feel so good, right? Like there are all kinds of other emotional needs that get met through addictions. So you have to do that internal emotional work, right? So this is where when you think a little bit about, let's say, impulsive buying or pornography or whatever, what are the actual feelings or mental state that you're trying to improve, right? What is the experience of you off of your drug of choice? So this is where it's going to be negative probably, right? But then is it anxiety? And then you need to ask yourself, sure, you can use a coping mechanism to kind of reduce it. And hopefully through meditation over time, you'll change that core part that it's coming from. But in cognitive behavioral therapy, there could be some kind of schema. In Sanskrit, we call it a samskar, right? So what is it that you're trying to fix? And then where does that thought come from? Where did you start feeling that way? How did you start to think that way? And so ultimately, if I'm working with someone, for example, who's I don't know, let me just think of an example of someone who's, let's say you're working with an incel. And so incels have all these belief systems, and those belief systems are there. And sometimes they're also using substances and stuff like that. And the reason is because or doomer, let's say. So when I stop using the substance, all my doomer thoughts come back, right? The world is going to end. This is going to happen. I'm never going to amount to anything. And then the question is when did you start to lose faith in the world? Right? And how did you lose that faith? And as you go track back to the source of your thoughts, when did you start feeling this way? Where did these thoughts originate from? Don't worry about the evidence. This is where a lot of people get tripped up, right? So if you talk to someone who has a negative schema or negative samskar, they'll tell you about the evidence. Oh, because of this and alphas and betas and sigmas, and they'll use all this pseudoscientific kind of BS, right? They'll give you lots of evidence to confirm their belief, but you can try to dispute that if you want to. You're never going to get anywhere. The question is, where did the original belief come from? Because our mind, once we believe something, our mind looks for confirmation. That's what the confirmation bias is. So if you're dealing with an addiction, couple of things to keep in mind. The first is that as you extract yourself from it, it's going to be a bumpy road. Physiologically, this is where you should actually see a medical professional. So if you actually have a substance use disorder, you should absolutely see a medical professional because some of these things can be life-threatening. Even in the non-substance use category, it can definitely help to see a medical professional because they'll know these kinds of things, right? They'll help you support you through that sort of stuff. But as you cut back on your pornography, be prepared for the other things to rise up and watch what happens, right? Why are you doing that? When do you impulsively buy? It's when you're emotionally not feeling good. Recognize that as that negative emotional stuff comes up, there's going to be an impact on your productivity. The good news is that impact is generally speaking temporary. So in the same way that your brain will reacclimatize, right? So our brain develops a tolerance. And if we cut the substance, that tolerance will go away over time. In the same way, you'll find a way to get motivated again. It'll just your brain will just kind of recalibrate. It takes longer, though, than some of these physiologic tolerances. Because the physiologic tolerances can get better within anywhere from 72 hours to a week. Sometimes there are more like long-term effects of like sobriety, like a month out, 3 months out, 6 months out, you'll start to see cognitive benefits and things like that. People just feel better. So you may be in for that, motivational slump for like a couple of weeks, month, maybe even 2, 3. And that's kind of okay, right? So your body has a natural tendency to heal. So just have faith in that. The other thing is that if you lean on other coping mechanisms, that equilibration will happen less. Does that make sense? Because now we're not needing to equilibrate because we're just using something else, right? So even in, for example, alcohol detox, we'll give people particular medications that work on the GABA receptor as a substitute for alcohol and slowly taper that down. And that's how you sort of safely detox someone from alcohol. So if you're using a substitute, that's going to slow the process of equilibration, but it may smooth it out a little bit. Next thing to remember is that at the end of the day, those negative thoughts, you can use an unhealthy coping mechanism or develop a healthy coping mechanism that'll smooth out your kind of return to normalcy. And then the last thing to consider is that at the end of the day, you may need to do that internal like work, right? So the kinds of negative states that arise when you are not using, where do those negative mental states come from? Where did they originate from? What are your actual fears, concerns, etc.? And this is why, I know it sounds kind of weird, but like this is why like you'll see internal emotional work, cathartic kind of work happen in basically all fields of addiction recovery. So you can see a licensed therapist, right, who will like talk you through that stuff, hopefully accelerate the process. But you also see those kinds of things in Alcoholics Anonymous, where people will go up and they'll say, "Hi, my name is Alok, I'm an alcoholic," and then they'll share, right? So there's some kind of like processing, acknowledgement of negative feelings, emotional support, camaraderie. Like, so there's some research even into the common factors between like therapy and other things. So like, how does Alcoholics Anonymous work? How does therapy work? Is there some overlap? And it turns out that there is. So you have to do that core overlap kind of work, which is like internal emotional processing. So if y'all are in this kind of situation, it's really, really common, right? So there's going to be some neuroscience stuff going on, but like try to develop healthy coping mechanisms and understand what you're in for, right? So that's the key thing. That's the reason we're really digging into this, is like understand what you're signing up for and the phases of it and what you can do to sort of reduce it. Questions? Food addiction is the same, right? So like food, it doesn't matter. So each of these things, depending on your substance or your choice of addiction, the support that you're going to get is going to be like, or the neuroscientific or psychological support you're going to get is going to be a little bit tailored to that thing. So for example, with food addiction, we get a lot of very physiologic signals of satisfaction. We also get things, so I've seen this in people who are addicted to food. So when you eat a bunch of food, you get an insulin spike. If you eat carbohydrates, that is. When you get an insulin spike, right, because you get this peak of blood sugar, your blood sugar shoots through the roof. You get a surge of insulin. As you get a surge of insulin, you move from a sympathetic, which is a sympathetic nervous system mode, to a parasympathetic nervous system mode. So remember, in the sympathetic nervous system mode, my anxiety is going to be worse. My mind is going to be active, right? Like I'm going to see danger is more real. All this stuff is in Dr. K's guide. And when I move to a parasympathetic mode, it's going to slow my mind down, right? You go into a food coma. And so what some people with food addiction will do is they'll activate a food coma to slow down their mind, quiet their thoughts, make it easy for you to sleep, right? So we'll see like food addiction and insomnia kind of go hand in hand sometimes too. Because why do you have trouble falling asleep? Because my mind, right? Oh my God, I have all these thoughts, I have all these worries, and they're too much to handle. I can't fix them. Because when you're going to bed at night, you can't fix anything. So any anxiety or thought that you have is going to be like hopeless, right? The future, climate change. And so your mind gets ramped up. You get sympathetically activated. Danger feels more real. And so when you food coma yourself, all that stuff kind of chills out, like we're content, right? Slows things down. So in each of these addictions, there are going to be unique impacts on your body and mind, and ultimately overcoming each and every one of these involves understanding like what you're up against. So then you can tailor things, right? So when I work with people who have a food addiction, one of the key things that I target is insomnia. And so if you can target that insomnia really well, then somehow it really seems to help them. Yeah, right. So someone saying, masturbation before sleep, it's another big reason, right? So what do? You're all these thoughts and worries, and then you masturbate, and then you get the surge of dopamine. You feel kind of content. You feel a little bit sleepy. So it's almost like a self-medication, right? So you need healthier coping mechanisms. You can maybe do something like yoga nidra. Sometimes I'll prescribe medication to people depending on the situation, right? So someone saying, this is so hard, I can't do it. So I can empathize with that. It is definitely very hard. The thing about a lot of this, like overcoming substance use, or especially like the non-substance use addictions, what you really have to do, the main thing that you have to do is nothing. So it's the avoidance behavior, right? And that sometimes is the hardest thing of all. Like what you have to do is just tolerate it, because you're.
Bye, Ashley. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you later. Much love.
Your body will recalibrate. It's just going to be really painful. Doing nothing sucks. Yes, it does. Sometimes doing nothing is the hardest thing of all. That's why it's so hard to meditate. Yeah, so sometimes there's comorbidity with depression and restless leg. Absolutely. This is kind of interesting. There's a paper by, let me see if I can find this. So there's a video in Dr. K's guide about Ayurvedic variants of depression. And let me see if I can find the paper. I can't find it right now. There's a good paper by, let's see if I can find it this way. I know this is kind of a random question, but fava, depression, anger attacks. Yeah, so there's, this is interesting if you guys want to know about restless leg. And so I think this is the original paper. So 1998, right? So it's a little older, but it's talking about anger attacks and depression. The really interesting thing is that there's like approximately 1/3 of depressed outpatients present with anger attacks. So this is something that like is kind of confusing for many people. A lot of people who have clinical depression don't realize, because they don't feel sad. What they do is they get pissed. And they just have a very, very short fuse. And then they think they like kind of need to chill out and stuff. But like really what it looks like is it resembles a clinical depressive episode. It manifests as anger. So the interesting thing is that there are some studies, and this guy, the guy who wrote this paper, was telling me that when he has patients who have depression with anger attacks, he'll provide treatments like ropinirole, which actually seem to help depression with anger attacks. And ropinirole is also a treatment for restless leg. So there's like some comorbidity there for sure, and we don't really know too much about it. If y'all have depression and restless leg, definitely go see a psychiatrist, right? And look into that kind of stuff. It's cool. Science is neat, man. There's like so much information out there. I couldn't find the paper itself in my drive, so sorry about that, but that's the reference if you guys want it. Okay. Restless leg syndrome is a neurologic condition where your legs will just like kick. Like, so you know that sometimes you'll have muscle twitches, right? So like sometimes we just like twitch. So in restless leg syndrome, oftentimes when people try to go to sleep, their legs will kick. It can be quite profound, can keep people from sleeping, and can also keep people from sleeping next to you. It's actually quite debilitating. Like,
Good morning, Miss Bina. How are you doing this morning, dear? I hope you're having an amazing, amazing Monday morning, and happy July 1st.
or it can be quite debilitating, I should say.
Oh, that's the end of it. I am doing well. I have a bunch of first of the month running around to do this morning, and I got to go talk to the city offices and all that fun stuff. So I'll probably smoke one more with you guys and then have to call it a morning. But I will definitely be back this afternoon for 420 and Stoner Roulette and everything like that. Ms. Pina is actually going to reach out to you as soon as I ended the show. I hope everybody's having an amazing, amazing Monday morning. And yeah, I don't know. It's been an awesome weekend, an awesome morning so far. And so keep on keeping on. I hope everybody has a dope Monday. Thank you guys so much for everything you guys do. And we'll go with... Cheers, everybody. Bye, everybody. Much love. I'll see you this afternoon.